Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! I have today for you a fun fold card. This is called a floating fun fold, and it might look like your average card, but there is actually a little surprise to it. So this is inspired by Julie Baca of Sunny Day Stamping, and it's a very simple fun fold that it's just a nice little different aspect to the card. So it looks like a regular card, and you can open it like a regular card, but you can prop the front of the card on this raised piece here inside, and it creates a little easel effect, and the card will actually stand up on a surface and can kind of become a display piece for someone to have out and just make them smile because they'll think of you. So I'm going to teach you how to do it and how to attach this decoration on the front, and we'll go ahead and get started. And of course you have to decorate your envelope too. Aren't these bees sweet? This is one of our new suites in our new Spring Mini catalog. The stamp set we are using today is the Be My Valentine suite, and we are using the coordinating DSP or Designer Series paper. You can check everything out online at my website. And if you prefer a paper catalog in your hands, please feel free to get in touch with me if you don't already have a demonstrator you're working with, and I will be happy to send you one. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is very simple. No tricky folding, no tricky cutting, two very simple scores. So our card base here is Sweet Sorbet. It's 5.5 by 8.5, and we are going to score it twice. So on this long side, we are going to score it 2.5 and 4.25, and that will give us the basics for what we need for that fun fold. Just remember, you are scoring, not cutting. I always hate it when I cut the front panel off my card because I'm not paying attention. That 4.25 is probably what you're used to because that is the center fold. So you'll just flip your card base over. You can fold it in half and give it a little press. And then I like to open it up and then just fold over that second panel. And we've already got the basis for our card. Now to decorate it, you have a couple different options. You could use Designer Series paper, you could use stamped panels, you could use cardstock that you emboss for panels. So have some fun. The thing to know is you want them to be 5.25 inches tall by 1 7/8 of an inch wide, and you want 2. I realized I stuck with the same print or the same stamped panels. I did not mix and match, but you could definitely do that if you wanted to. So here I have my cute little bees. So we're going to attach these. You do not need specific adhesive until we get to a certain point. So you can just use your favorite, whether that be liquid glue, tape runner, tear and tape. I am using Stamp and Seal for most of the adhesive until we get to that special part where we create the easel on the front. But you can use whatever you like. And you can use your stronger adhesive the whole time if you want. I do have Stamp and Seal Plus, which is my favorite, but my order isn't here with my refills yet, so I'm milking it a little bit tonight. All right, so these just get placed centered on the panel, like so. And then we're gonna step away from the front for a minute. I'm gonna work on the inside and show you how to make that raised easel portion, and then we'll come back and finish decorating the front. So for the inside, we need a panel for a sentiment. So this panel is basic white. You could always use another light colored cardstock as well. This is 5.25 inches tall by 2 3/4 inches wide. We're gonna do a little stamping on here. And let's see, we'll start with that and then I'll give you the dimensions on the next piece. So the Be My Valentine stamp set is photopolymer. That means it is the clear. It does not have foam built in. It's great because you can see through it, but we need a little extra cushion underneath. So I'm using my Stampin' Pierce mat. It's just a nice thick piece of foam. You can use a thinner piece like Fun Foam that you see at a craft store, or you could even use a catalog to give you a little cushion underneath. It'll just give you a better impression when you stamp. So I am pulling all my colors right out of the DSP here. So to start with, I'm using Sweet Sorbet ink, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Valentine's Day is next week, so I'm adding some Valentines to my stash. So there is my sentiment. Now you don't have a ton of room to write, so just keep that in mind as you are designing your card. You can really fill up as much space with the stamping, or you could use a thinner stamp and keep that towards the top and have plenty of room to write. Now I decided that I wanted to keep the bee theme going on the inside. So I'm going to put a bee down here and show you how to two-step stamp. So I have some Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and I'm going to stamp the bee bum, as I call it, the little tail and the stripes. And it's going to go down here at the corner, like so. And next I have Daffodil Delight, because we've got our yellow bumblebees, right? This is one of our old style ink pads. So I'm going to ink this up, and then because the stamp is clear, I can first of all see that I have enough coverage on the stamp, or I can add a little bit to it if I think I missed an area. I'm going to line it up with the tail on the bee. And let's see if I got it lined up. You will have a much easier time at home because you are not worried about hitting your head on your camera stand. So there is our little bee body. And one thing that's great about this is it's non-directional. You can, if you want the bee facing the other way, just flip your stamp around and it works either direction. All right. So next, something I forgot on my initial sample card, and I realized while I was doing my Facebook Live, I didn't add antennas to the bee. And my Facebook viewers voted that they wanted antennas on our little bee. So there we've got our antennas. But he, of course, needs a face, he or she. So I have this little winky face, kind of eyes closed, happy smile. And of course, our bee needs wings. And because these are the clear stamps, I can line it up perfectly every time. And just for a little bit of extra color there, I'm going to take a little heart stamp that's part of the set, and I'm just going to add a couple Sweet Sorbet hearts here at the bottom. Still plenty of room to sign my name for my Valentine. So that is for our sentiment portion. Now we're going to create the raised panel here inside. I recommend something thick like cardstock, not designer series paper. I'm not sure it would give enough strength to hold your easel in place. So if you want to use DSP, layer it on some cardstock. Just keep that in mind as you're working. But you could again use plain cardstock, stamped cardstock, embossed cardstock, or DSP layered on cardstock. Here I have a strip of Petal Pink cardstock. This is 5 1/4 inches tall by 1 1/4 inches wide. And I decided rather than grab another scrap of DSP, I'm going to stamp on this. So I have some Petal Pink ink and our little beehive stamp. And somewhere here, there we go, piece of scrap paper. Because I'm going to stamp off a little bit. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way so you can see. And I'm just going to stamp tone on tone. You can be as creative as you want to be with your stamping here. I'm just kind of doing an all over stamp here and there with this beehive stamp that we have. I think I'm going to come back and fill that in a little bit. There we go. Maybe one more. I think that's good. Okay, so like I said, be creative. You can use whatever you like for that inside piece. But I do recommend it has a little firmness to it. I did not try it with paper. I just think it's not going to hold as well. So for the sentiment piece, you can glue this with regular glue. As I said, use your favorite. I am more of a tape runner girl. I tend to be too impatient for liquid glue unless I absolutely need it. And this will go next to your score line in the center of the card. Now this panel we want to raise so that it can create that easel effect. So you will need dimensionals for this piece. And one thing to keep in mind is to spread your dimensionals out. You don't have to use 2 tons of them, but like you don't have to cover every inch of the surface, but you don't want your cardstock to sag in the middle. So I do use a little bit more than I normally would. And for most of the samples that I made, I just staggered them and did 1, 2, 3, 4, and that seems to do the trick. But you can definitely use more if you want. You just don't need to cover the entire thing with dimensionals. But definitely have enough. You'll find the happy medium. All right, so next, we're just gonna take this piece and center it along the edge. You can put it right up against your white cardstock, or even tuck the white underneath if you want, or leave a gap, totally up to you. So there's the inside. And then when we fold this, that will create that easel effect. Now, as you can see, it just popped, and that's okay. If your cardstock wants to pop, because some of mine definitely did this, they did not want to stay folded. Pardon me. Easy fix for that. 2 things. First of all, open your card, fold down the half flap, give it a good press. You can use your fingers, you can use a bone folder. Then fold the card closed and give that center fold a good press too. And then I have found that it wants to cooperate. So if it doesn't want to stay down, just give it another little crease and that will work. Okay. Now we're going to decorate the front of the card and the envelope. So we're going to do just a little bit more stamping here. So we'll start with the envelope. So we're going to do our B again. So there's our B body, and well, this is the B body. We just did the accents. There we go. Get those antennas on. If you want to do the antennas, it looks okay without the antennas here, you can see. I recommend doing the antennas first because then that'll help you place the wings. I had a little trouble when I'd already stamped the wings and then figured out I forgot the antenna. So now that I've got that on, then I can do my wings. Like so. And of course, this one needs a face too. So I did a different face than I did on the inside. Both look cute. This one reminds me of Nemo for some reason. And you can actually take this bee punch and if you cut the tail off, you can create a fish. You'll need to add a little bit to it, but it works. Lots of possibilities with our stamps, which is one fun thing that I enjoy. Okay, so there's my envelope ready to go. Now for decorating this, the card that I first created, I did the front in basic white. I thought maybe it would be fun to try it in petal pink. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. This is from the Scalloped Contours die set that we have. You can use any kind of shape. You could use a square, a circle, a rectangle. Obviously you want it to fit on the front of your card. And I didn't want something that was going to be so large that it covered up the entire card surface because then it would cover up all my pretty paper. So I tended towards shapes about this size. One thing to keep in mind is when we get to the next step where we attach, you do have to be a little careful, but you can definitely be creative in the shapes that you put on the front of the card. Okay, so we're gonna start with the sentiment I want on the front, which is "You make my heart buzz." Go with our little bee theme. Now, I do want to put a bee on the front. However, I don't want to stamp the daffodil ink right on the petal pink. It wouldn't look as cute. So we're gonna pop the bee and take advantage of the bee builder punch that we have. So I've got a scrap of Daffodil ink, or no, Daffodil Delight cardstock. That's not ink, it's cardstock. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna double check my punch here and see which direction my bee tail's in. So my bee tail's off to the right. So I'm going to stamp that way. Let's see, here we go. There's my bee tail. I'm not going to stamp Daffodil ink right on here because obviously I'm using the yellow cardstock. So I'm simply going to line up my bee tail with the bee punch. You can see how I do that there. Pop the extra pieces. I can get rid of these little bits I do not need. Another thing to point out, as I mentioned earlier, I think your bee can go either direction. So if you want him to fly this way, fine. If you want to have him fly the other way, just flip him around before you stamp the face one. So easy peasy there. And another thing I thought was really cute is you can use these as conversation bubbles if you like. Or I actually did some stamping with flowers and things and lined up a bunch of these across the front of a card. So they're more than just bumblebees. Okay, so I want my bumblebee flying in this direction. So we're gonna skip the antenna because obviously they'd be off the paper and that wouldn't be very useful. But he does need a face. So I'm gonna take my happy little face here. There we go. And of course, our little bee needs wings. So we have the bee builder punch that has these hearts, and I'm gonna go ahead and punch 2 hearts out of Sweet Sorbet cardstock. I lost my little one, here we go. But the heart here, the larger of the hearts, actually also punches out the bee wings. So I'm gonna stamp the bee wings on some basic white. They're also lovely if you stamp on vellum and let it dry. You can do vellum wings. That's fun. But I'm gonna come in here and punch out my bumblebee wings. And what I love is that since it's the heart shape, and look, I can save this little heart for another project. I can put a glue dot right here at the bottom once I find them. And then once I've got that glue dot in place, I can just use that and attach my wings to my bee. Okay, so next I'm gonna take some dimensionals and attach my bee to my card. I'm gonna leave my dimensionals on the bee body just because I don't want them to be overhanging. So I think I would have been all right with one maybe, but there we go. There's my cute little bumblebee. I'm gonna add another couple dimensionals to my larger heart here. And this goes down at the bottom. Thought we needed a little extra love. And I'm gonna switch to mini dimensionals for just a minute and put one on the small heart. And this will get added to the bottom as well. And I thought this looked cute, but I wanted to fill in this little space. So I'm gonna revisit that little heart we used and just put a couple Sweet Sorbet stamped hearts here as well. Okay, now this I'm gonna set to the side for just a minute while I show you how we're going to attach it, which is easier than you might think. What we're going to use to attach it are 2 pieces of cardstock. They're squares, they're 2 by 2 inches. And on one side, I scored down the middle at 1 inch. So I'm just gonna fold them in half. So it's almost like you created a little book. And you're gonna do the same with both of them. Now, as I mentioned, you can use any number of shapes to put on the front of your card. However, you have to be careful with these pieces. Obviously, with this rectangle, they're going to be covered. but you might have to go a little bit smaller. I did have to trim some of these in half for some of the shapes, or I tapered the edges, and I'll show you that in some of the samples. This is where you need the strong adhesive because you don't want these to peel off the card. It's totally going to defeat the purpose. So strong adhesive like liquid glue that you can just hold for a minute and keep in place, or the Stampin' Seal Plus I found was actually my best bet for keeping these on the cards. Oop, my samples are trying to get away. So take your strong adhesive, whatever it is, put the adhesive on 1/2 of the folded rectangle. You're going to line it up so you've got the fold here, fold to fold, just shy of the fold. You don't want to put it right on it because then your card won't bend properly, but you want it right, almost just a little bit of space. And then you're going to repeat with the second rectangle. Again, fold to fold and give it a little bit of room there. You see it's just a tiny gap, but then my card will still bend. But you can see already how this piece is going to allow the bend to continue, but allow me to put my decoration on the front as well. So what I'm gonna do here, if you're brave, you can put your glue on the whole thing at once. It is a little trickier sometimes to hold it on, but I did find out you don't do too much glue here. If you just do one side, and I tend to go with the side closest to the fold, you can kind of hold them down with your fingers, press that in place, and then you can fold the smaller half of the card back and attach the rest with your adhesive and just open the card and press it, and then it will be attached. And so you can see the pieces on both sides, but it still allows the card to bend and then create that easel effect for the fun floating card. This is how it floats because it looks like this panel here is floating on the top. Now, I did have a friend who's a fellow demonstrator suggest that I could actually take these pieces and glue the bottom on first and then cover it with my DSP, so you could do that if you liked. It didn't bother me that they're visible, so up to you. But to finish this off very quickly, I'm just gonna add a little bit of bling. Ow, ooh, sorry. Our piercing tool is very sharp, as I just found out because I hooked my finger. All right, so don't do that. I'm gonna add just a couple little rhinestones. I just thought it kind of drew your eye a little bit, added a little something fun. So we have our envelope and our little Valentine featuring our bumblebee that hopefully will make someone very happy. And it looks cute in the petal pink and in the basic white. So I do have some more samples to show you. These are really great cards to mass produce because they're not super complicated. I mean, you do have a little bit of scoring, and honestly, I think the trickiest part is probably attaching this, but even then, that's not too difficult. So what I was doing was I was cutting 2 at a time, sometimes even 4 at a time, because I can get 2 card bases out of 1 piece of cardstock, and then I would just cut these panels out of a 12 by 12 sheet of DSP, and I could get 3 to 6 cards easily out of a whole sheet of paper, depending on the print and what I was doing with it. So, okay, let's move on to our samples. So one thing I did want to show you, I mentioned that you might have to cut down those the attachment pieces here on the front, and here's a good way that I can show you I did that. I simply cut one down to 2 by 1, so it's still folded. When folded, it gives me a 1-inch square. I would not go smaller than this, though. I think it might pull away from your card, even with a strong adhesive, if the front piece was too heavy. So just something to keep in mind there. But you can do that, or I'll show you another trick at a later card. So here I kept the front very simple with our Happy Mother's Day and our heartfelt hexagon. On my raised piece here, I had this little scrap of DSP I was determined to use. So to make it the right shape in order to have the easel effect, I just layered it with coordinating colors of cardstock. So there we go. And you can very easily change up your card by changing up your colors. I just changed the base color of the card from the Shaded Spruce to the Poppy Parade. And I flipped the colors here around my sentiment. Here I stamped tone on tone inside because I ran out of paper. I used this whole sheet because the cherries, the reverse side was a print I used for Easter cards. You're going to see in just a minute. So I was really kind of tickled that I used a whole sheet of 12 by 12 paper. So there is one Mother's Day card. Here is another one. Along the same lines, I just added some floral accents. There you go. You can see how these are great for any occasion. And I was planning ahead a little bit with our the springtime holidays we have coming, Mother's Day and Easter. So here is one of the Easter cards. This is the reverse side of that cherry paper. I used the circles, and I mentioned that sometimes you might have to trim the corners. So what I found was when I went to glue my bunny on, the squares from the circle wanted to stick out either at the top or the bottom. So to eliminate that, I just trimmed the corners at an angle. And then it almost looks like I cut the paper like that on purpose. Nobody would know. But that way it doesn't stick out behind my little bunny. And you can change your card again just by changing colors. So here, instead of Pool Party, pardon me, I went with Lemon Lolly, and I changed up my color of my bunny rabbit. But everything else about the card is the same. So easy, very easy to prep and make a lot of these at one time. And it's nice because it's not your average card, but you don't have to do a lot of extra work. And the easel effect is just a nice little difference for a card technique. Now, I mentioned also that you can use stamps solely on the card instead of designer series paper. So this is one I copied from the demonstrator I got the idea from, the Sunny Day Stamping. She stamped on her panels, and it's perfectly lovely that way too. So you have, you can just use it as a springboard and be as creative as you want. Use your favorite stamp set to create your panels. And you can do the front and the inside here, or use your DSP or mix and match. You can do either. So I love that bright, cheerful colors. You can add, smaller floral accents along with your embellishments. So this is just a great card technique. Here, I step back into Mother's Day with one of my favorite sweets. These purples are drawing a lot of attention. So this is our perennial lavender set, or painted lavender perennial postage set. Here is the perennial postage dies, and the sentiments are from the matching stamp set. I took one of our paper accent butterflies and added some purple with my blending brushes. And then there's the inside. I'm sure any mom would love that to look at on Mother's Day. But you don't have to go as ornate as this. Here is another design, same suite of paper, just different design card. And again, here I had to make sure my squares would fit. It was close here, but they worked. But just a little embellishment there. And another lovely card. And then I have two more to show you, and these I think are my favorite. I'm a fan of this DSP as well, and this is one of my favorite stamp sets, so you'll probably see it a lot in videos if you watch more than one. This is some paper that is a special item at the moment, where if you purchase $50 or $100, you can pick some special items from a special brochure that's called Celebration, and all the details you can find on my website if you're inclined to check that out. Here I just used graduated rectangles, and another one for my sentiment. There's the inside, and of course coordinated the envelope. So I love my purples, but I really love this blues in the card as well. And my favorite stamp from this set, it's called Inspirational Sketches, is our sweet little bird. So here I used some stamping, tone on tone, and added a little bit of an accent there. I hate when I make cards that are so cute, I don't want to give them away. Of course, have the matching envelope. All right, so there is our floating fun fold card. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make that and that you'll give it a try at your craft table. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can click to the notification bell and it'll give you a little notification each time a video is posted here on the channel. And you can always hop over to Facebook at The Faithful Stamper and find me. I post a lot more information there about specials that Stampin' Up! Is running, online exclusives, and other contests that I might be running privately. So if you'd like to check that out, I'd love to have you as part of my community. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.